goodness, wait, don't hit anybody. But oh my goodness, wait, don't mess this up.
You're like, keep.
And you're bouncing in and out of excitement, like this is cool. Wait, we're still moving in airplanes. So that was just fascinating because we were providing airlift for the second highest office in the country, if not the world, to constituents that wanted to see her, and we were a vital part in making that connection for
Right. Welcome everyone. We are here for another episode of Legacy Talks. And I'm here with my boy, Dean Hall.
Sir.
Yes. So Dean, we're gonna go into just talking about your flying experience, all the cool things you've done since you've been in the Air Force, and then we're gonna get some tips from you on how other people can get to where you're at, or really help guide them on the way to be successful like you. So Dean, you've done a lot of stuff in the Air Force. And I'm really curious, where did you, overall, just give me an overview of like how you started and kind of what drove you to want to be in the Air Force, and kind of real quick overview of kind of where you're at.
Yeah. So kind of twofold. What drove me to want to be in the Air Force is my dad. Actually, my entire family's military. I'm the first O. Dad was a command chief. Uncles were retired master sergeants. I have cousins who served. And so it was something that was just inherently in my blood, I guess, growing up.
Yeah.
What made me want to fly, I remember coming outside and looking up in the sky and just seeing airplanes and hearing the noise. And then kind of a hilarious story. There was a cartoon, Tailspin, back in the day. Show. Yeah, Baloo. And he flew the Sea Duck. And I remember he had his little sidekick that would skate out the back of it. And I was like, man, you know, your imagination goes like, that would be awesome. One day I would like to do that. So all that stuff together kind of sparked the dream to want to fly.
That's cool. It's funny too, when you ask most pilots what like pushed them to want to fly, it always goes back to a time when they saw a plane flying or something. That's when you're like, I want to become a pilot because I saw this.
Yeah, exactly. For me, I think the disconnect though was I could see the dream. I didn't know the path to get to it, you know? So it was a lot of passion and energy and love for something, but a little bit of hopelessness as far as, okay, how do I see myself there? Or do I ever see myself there?
Yeah.
Is this the dream? Is this kind of my limit?
Yeah. And you're looking at it and you're like, cool, it's a dream, but is there really a way to get there? Like people are like, I want to be a rock star. I want to be whatever. And they're like, but there's no really way to get there. Mm. So how did you bridge that gap between wanting to become a pilot and getting there?
Yeah. So I would say that throughout my entire journey, the biggest obstacle was the guy in the mirror. And there's a lot of things that kind of went to that, and why I really love organizations that are focused around mentorship. So back in Tucson, Arizona, it was where I went to school, graduated from college there. My sister and my mother lived on the east side of town in a small little place. And so the dreams were kind of put on hold for sake of just surviving. Right?
Yeah.
And so it's just work and get to school and work to get to school. And my dreams were so limited. I couldn't see so far into the future. It was just, how do I survive to the next thing? I just need a car. Okay, I got a car. I just need a this, and I got the this and the that and the this, and grinding through college. From that point, after I graduated, there was a guy, and I'll never forget, his name is Roger. And Roger saw potential in me. And he said, hey man, you have such this passion for flying. Why don't you come out on the weekends and I'm gonna show you how to fly. And wow. that kind of sparked my interest for mentoring kids, because Roger was a pivotal point in my life that got me to where
it's like a watershed moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And so he would dedicate his time. He would teach me, this means up, that means down, left, right, kind of just the general things. And from there, I kept grinding. I went back to ROTC. I got a pod slot of ROTC, and then away I go.
Man, you look at that, and that is it right there. Him being able to see the potential in you, and then put that energy to put into you to help guide you on the way. Because I feel like it's almost impossible to get from not knowing to becoming a pilot without somebody guiding you along the way, without getting that. So how did he find you?
Yeah. So that's a good question.
Like, it's like people say, cool, yeah. How do I find that?
Yeah. I got a job with this company called Flight Safety International.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember how I got the job, but it had aviation in it. I was like, look, I'll clean the toilets as long as it's around flying. And so I got there and met this guy, and we were talking. He's a retired F-16 pilot, and he was teaching Challenger 601s in Learjets. And so in the Learjet sim, we would go in after hours and just practice. But yeah, he found me just a guy who was willing to take his time to look at a younger guy with passion and just pour it into me.
That's good, man. And that's I think you also highlighted the fact you're like it has to do with airplanes. I'm gonna go if I could just wash clean the floors, wash the toilets, whatever I gotta do.
Yeah.
Get me into space. You know, I always tell people is like if you can't figure it out, get in the space or go in the direction of what it is that you want to be part of. And if you bring the energy with you there, all the energy around you will bring the people towards you if you're in the right space. And you was in the right space.
Yeah.
So pilot training, tell me how pilot training was.
Pilot training was terrible. No, pilot training was difficult. I had a lot of other life things going on during pilot training. But it was 12-hour days every day for a year of just surviving the next day. Actually, pilot training is where I got my call sign Jinx from. So when I finally made it to the T-38 phase, my second flight, the instructor accidentally jettisoned the canopy off the airplane. 3 or 4 flights later, I had a brake failure. I went off the runway, and so a bunch of things happened.
Oh man, oh man. So you kind of brought something in there that I'm gonna pull real quick, right? When it comes to like going through training and going through these challenging things, the things that don't stop happening are life, right? And even throughout your career, and I tell people, it's like you got to be able to find a way to balance taking care of the life things that are going on and somehow be able to stay engaged. Like, how have you done that? Because that I think is one of the hardest things. Even though pilot training itself is hard, becoming a pilot is hard. Taking care of your family and all those other things is always still there, right?
Yeah.
So is there any advice on how to manage those things or how a couple things that kind of help you like make it through and still be able to figure how to do all that?
Yeah. If the best advice that I can give somebody is you have to stay laser focused on what the goal is, what the objective is. Actually, sorry, I got one. I just thought of pause. I don't like that story with the emergencies and the jinx thing.
Okay.
It just hit me like, wait a minute, we motivating. This was a terrible time.
No, it's
and it just distracted my head. My bad.
It's all good. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
We'll keep going. Just keep going. Yeah.
Give me that question again. What
So when you're going through pilot training and you highlight the fact you still have things going on at home and family and things like that. Family stuff doesn't stop. Home stuff doesn't stop. But you still have your goals that still have to do it. How do you figure out? People always say work-life balance, but I don't think that's a real word. But how are you able to manage all of those while still being successful?
Yeah, it's tough. First, staying laser focused on what your priorities are. My objective was to become a pilot by any means. So I took that very personal. The second thing is having some type of support system and surrounding yourself with like-minded people who will help and push you to reach that objective and understand that you're gonna have to make sacrifices.
Yeah.
With a great reward comes a lot of responsibility to achieve that reward. And you got to be willing to put forth that work and make the necessary sacrifices to get there.
Yeah, definitely, man. I think that sometimes people forget. They just look at, well, these are the steps to get there, ignoring like some of the other things that come along with being able to still have those steps, because not everybody has the step 1 through 10 and it goes smoothly. You have other things that happen to kind of balance throughout the way. So pilot training, that not easy in any way, shape, or form. We made it all the way through the T-38s. So tell me how it was after you earned your wings and then now you're in the Air Force, right? Tell me like what was one of your favorite assignments outside of where you're at now, but like some of your earlier assignments that you had?
Yeah, hands down, favorite assignment is in the ATC teaching, either in the T6 or teaching back in the T-38. Because it was the first opportunity to really turn around and start to give back and pour into somebody else,
Yeah.
the same way that someone had poured into me. So eventually, I ended up in NAS Pensacola, of course, where we met, teaching CSOs, combat systems officers, how to fly, and I tell you, just to see young lieutenants with kind of that shine in their eye and that excitement, a lot of times reminded me of myself. And so it energized me to pour into them as hard as I could. By far the best assignment ever.
So, what do you think were some of the qualities you saw that made people do well in flight training as an instructor?
Ambition and humility.
Ooh, humility.
Ambition and humility, hands down.
So those that that had humility tended to do a lot better than those who didn't.
I think that those that had humility, you had humility kind of opened up a vessel that you could pour into more than arrogance. And so in the long term, they absolutely did better because they were ready to receive and adapt to your instruction.
Got you. And you also were instructing on the T-38. And were you, I'm trying to remember, what were you instructing on the T-38? Were you doing instructor training?
Yeah, pit. Yep. Yep. So I was doing pit training out in at Randolph in San Antonio.
So you were teaching instructors how to instruct. And you were teaching, and this was in T-38, so we're teaching people to teach fighter pilots how to be fighter pilots, essentially. So tell me about that assignment, some of the things that you enjoyed about that assignment or some of the highlights there.
Yeah, so one, the jet is amazing to fly. It's a ton of fun to fly. It's old. I know we're getting rid of them, but it was a ton of fun. Kind of the same thing with Pensacola. We got a lot of FAPEs or first assignment instructor pilots out of pilot training that would come to Randolph to learn how to go back and instruct on the T-38. A lot of them still with that same energy and that same excitement. That was good. We have a lot of major weapon systems people who would come to Randolph to learn how to fly, so more captains and majors who weren't necessarily good at flying the T-38. So it was good to kind of give that airmanship sense back. You know, with the FAPEs, you have the officership, the developing the person. Their hands were good, but the instruction and the officership was lacking. I won't say lacking. It was just that was the area that needed the improvement. Yep. Then you have the MWS people who came back who had the officership thing down, but they really depended on you to learn how to fly the airplane. So there's passion in just flying in aviation there. And then there were the senior officers that would come back where you draw from them the officership piece, but you also keep them safe and teach them how to fly as well so they can go on with their careers.
All right, so what was it like in a typical T-38, like there's a bunch of different types of missions that you trained, right? What were the funnest ones, and kind of talk me through like what a training mission would look like? Because I know people watch, like, we watch Top Gun, everybody's seen that, and we know that that's theatrical and for fun, but like, are those the type of things that you do in training in the T-38?
So I say, the second Top Gun, as far as the G's and the facial movements and the breathing and stuff, there's some accuracy in some of that, the kind of the physiological pieces of flying. My favorite sorties to teach were between low-level navigation and formation. So managing your platform and managing another platform to conduct maneuvers in a confined airspace, and then bringing you and your wingman home was a fun mission to teach.
How low were you flying in a low level?
500 AGL.
And how fast?
Oh, average around 300, about 300 knots.
So how high is 500 feet? Ain't really that high.
It's not too high, especially at that speed. We had this thing called a time to die chart. And it seems kind of gruesome, but it was our way of instilling, like, if you mess this up, if you overbank or overturn, at certain altitudes and certain angles, your time to impact the ground is very reduced. So
well, and that brings the fact that, like, even though it's fun, flying is great, there's still the danger element that you still got to make sure that you put in your cross check to be able to be safe when you're flying that low, that fast. Because in my mind, I'm like, flying low and fast is exciting for me, but also just like you said, it's exciting because you're like, man, this is a lot of fun. But you also know that with that excitement comes, you got to be able to balance out being disciplined before you even get to that point. And that discipline stuff, I believe, comes well before you ever even get to that jet. Is you got to be able to know how to be disciplined, follow the rules, and stay safe to do that. So, but yeah, any exciting stories there from from your students or anything that you had?
You know, my most memorable T-38 story is not necessarily something that happened in T-38. It's something that happened afterwards.
Okay.
So I had traveled from San Antonio out to Del Rio, Texas, to attend an event, and one of my old students walks up to me and he hands me a card, and it's weird. He didn't even know I was going to be there. He handed me a card, had my name on it. I guess this was the second day that I was there.
Yeah.
So he had gotten this card. And he said, "Hey, just when you get back to your room, go if you don't mind reading this, and this is like from the bottom of my heart." I'm like, that's kind of weird. Why
Yeah.
would you
Like,
okay,
all right.
cool, all right. So I go back and I read this card, and he says, "You know what, sir? I owe my career to you. I would not have graduated Pitt, and I probably wouldn't be alive today if you didn't take the extra time to sit and mentor and instruct me." And I had no idea what he was talking about. And I sat back and I was like, "What? Wait, alive and you wouldn't be here?" And then I remember the kind of student he was, and he was somebody who did have some troubles. And after everybody in the squadron had left, we would sit there and we'd go up to the whiteboard and start drawing and doing the things and going over procedures, TTPs over and over and over again. But I remember saying to myself, like, I don't think that I went above and beyond for this guy. This is just what, it's what we do. And it culminated with him just being very emotional and going and getting like, I never gave another grown man a card that said, "Thank you ever in my life," nor have I received one.
Right.
And yet here's this gesture, and all I felt I did was what I was supposed to do.
Man, and that shows just like kind of the baseline of like where just showing up is, for you, and also to the people around you, because in your mind you're probably like, I'm just doing my job.
Yeah.
I'm out here just doing my job like everybody else. But you see there's a lot of passion in pilots, especially when you become an instructor. I think it takes, to be a good instructor, it takes a special type of person to be a good instructor, especially in aviation, because every time you get in a plane, you're essentially risking your life with somebody else who doesn't know what they're doing, essentially.
Yeah.
And you do it as like, well, this is just part of my job, and you're helping them get to a point where they can go and be safe with somebody else flying as well. And it does take a lot, and sometimes we forget that as instructors.
Yeah.
What you're putting on the line every day to go help someone overcome, taking their change in perception and turning it into action.
And it's weird to think of it that way. Yeah, you strap a jet on, you strap a multi-million-dollar jet on your back with rockets on the back of it, and it's just like, okay, it's Tuesday, let's just go do this thing and pull G's and light afterburners. But
yeah, that's cool. So man, that's great, man, and it's good when you can have that impact. So that's flying and everything. We haven't even talked about what you do now. So tell me about what your current role currently do in the Air Force, what your job is. And you kind of got two jobs, right?
Yeah.
You have your job you do on the ground, and then you have the airplane that you fly.
Yeah.
So you fly Air Force 2.
Correct.
Air Force 2 is the airplane that flies the vice president. And you're doing that for a little bit of time, and you're also an advanced agent. Am I saying an advanced agent for the presidential team? So whenever the president goes somewhere, you're part of the team that goes ahead of them and kind of make sure that everything's good to go for wherever they're going. That about right?
That's pretty accurate.
Oh, yeah. Good. I guess tell me a little more on that. That was I was like, I think I know what I'm talking about here. But and that's just really cool, because that's something that I don't even know if you ever thought, one day I'm gonna be the person that flies the vice president and part of the presidential team. Most people couldn't even fathom that.
Yeah. I sit down every now and again. I know my mom will probably see this, but every now and again, I talk to my mom and say, "Mom, I never would have imagined that my life would be where it is right now. Like this was not in the bingo cards. This was not on the vision board." So I consider myself blessed and lucky, and I enjoy it. But yeah, so the Air Force 2 is a C-32A aircraft. There's 5 customers that we use to fly it. You mentioned the vice president. We also fly the first lady.
Okay.
We fly the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of Defense. So those are our 5 users for the C-32. And there's an office in the Pentagon that manages via the White House military office, who manages who we're going to fly any one time. So it is it's hard to even put in words. Like, actually, until you said it, I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. The Vice President of the United States.
I'm just doing my job.
Yeah, they're doing the job. Yeah, where does she want to go? Or so that's that. The other job is a presidential advance agent through an office called 𝐶VAM underneath the White House military office. So presidential advance agents are like advon agents that tie together with Secret Service, Executive Office of the President, personnel, White House communications agencies, and we put this team together to go forth and essentially set the stage for a presidential visit. On the presidential advance agent side, we deal mainly with the aircraft and the airport and security and equipment, a bunch of stuff there to make the kind of the CNN or Fox News or picture flavor appearance of the president arriving just seem flawless. So we're the guys behind the scenes that are like the wedding planner, like, okay, I hope this goes right, I hope this goes right, I think we did this right, it went right, cool.
And you do that, so you're consistently on a somewhat regular basis, always setting up all of these visits to make sure that, just like you said, it looks perfect and it looks as presidential as it is, because the whole world sees when the president lands somewhere, and that 2 seconds on the screen, you're like, I help with that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So the aircraft, so it's a 740. No, it's not a 747. Is it a 747?
Air Force One.
Air Force One is.
Yep.
And Air Force Two
Air Force was a 757-200.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. So what's it like in the Air Force One? I know sometimes people see some of the documentaries of it. Like, how would you describe it? Like how nice it is, or how cool it's set up?
Yeah, so for the pilots, it's old. So up top, it's old. The main level it's like being in one of the nicest hotels you've ever been in. Even the carpet feels like walking on clouds. It's pretty neat.
That's cool. That's cool. And then so with the Air Force Two, it's a smaller plane. Obviously, the 75 is a little bit smaller. But is it at some level? I guess it's still a VIP aircraft, so it's still a pretty nice airplane.
Yeah.
So any good trips you can tell us about that you went on on Air Force Two?
Sure. Yeah. Well, for Air Force Two, so most of the Air Force Two trips have been throughout the campaign.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess it is that time. Yep.
I guess the coolest one was landing in Detroit.
Okay.
So VP Harris had a planeside rally, and when we land, you just see thousands of people sitting there waving and cheering, and you're just like, oh my goodness, wait, don't hit anybody. But oh my goodness, wait, don't mess this up.
You're like, keep.
And you're bouncing in and out of excitement, like, this is cool. Wait, we're still moving an airplane. So that was just fascinating, because we were providing airlift for the second highest office in the country, if not the world.
Yeah.
To constituents that wanted to see her, and we were a vital part in making that connection for.
Yeah, you're right. You're making sure that, you think about it, you're giving an opportunity for the people to be able to see, someone in that high of a position. Like, it's a service to the people, because as much as people think it's for the person you're flying, you're basically making that person accessible to the American people.
Yep.
You're helping them be accessible to the American people, because the people want to be able to have access to our leaders. And I think that's a piece that some people don't necessarily look at, but it's like, that's what you're being able to provide.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the key pieces of being a democracy, and is being able to have the access to our leaders. So that's pretty cool. That's actually that's really cool, man, when you think about it. And I'm like, wonder if you thought about this, because you're looking at it from the outside, you're like, man, that's insane.
Yeah.
And so now whenever y'all, when you're watching the president or vice president, you look like, who's flying that plane there?
Yeah.
Who's the pilot? Which is pretty cool.
I might be up there. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So with, you've been doing the Avon thing with Air Force One for a while, because I think you've been doing it at least since I've known you.
Yep.
So that's a lot of time. Any cool trips, anything that stands out to you on any of your trips with Air Force One?
Yeah. The first time I seen President Obama, I almost completely lost myself. He comes off the airplane and he's just like you would think. Just and we're in Vietnam, and he goes to shake the Vietnamese president's hand, and it just reminded me of the Key and Peele skit when he's like, "What's up, man?" And they have their little conversation. I'm just like, this was not in the bingo cards either. That's him, and I'm sitting there with the suit and arms folded and the earpiece, and I'm hearing stuff. I'm ignoring it because I'm like, this is the man. It's not so much the trip, it's the experience that is the coolest thing. And so with that experience, every single trip, every single mission has just had something special about the experience, not so much it's amazing to be in Vietnam or Thailand or Singapore, all the places, but to be a part of that type of team, especially just a little black dude from Tucson, Arizona, who's worked his way up to be in this position. That's the experience. That's the story.
Man, now let's talk about that story in your shirt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you, it's interesting how you say it because I think that a lot of pilots, we definitely enjoy flying. Like flying, we do it all day, every day so much it becomes like it's breathing for us. It's like, well, it's just part of what we do, right? Yeah. So then when we ask, it's like, well, what's some cool things you've done? And the thing that I like you've talked about is, hey, tell me about a time. It didn't really have much to do with flying. Like the flying is great, as we know, the flying is great, but just like you said, the connection with people, the way that people are impacted by the things that you do as a pilot. Everything from, I forgot the guy's name that connected with you when you were younger to help. Roger.
Yeah.
Roger helped you, Roger connected with you, helped you see that you could do more. You going through pilot training and then being an instructor and helping, someone who you didn't realize you were just doing my job, how impactful is like you changed my life. I might not even be alive if it wasn't for you, and I mean, I think about when we were down in Pensacola, like how many students that we were able to have such an impact on and had to do with flying, but mostly it was the things that we did when we weren't even in an airplane that made the biggest change to people's lives, that helped motivate people in a way that their lives are different than they probably imagine. And then you go into, doing the advon to, I mean, the Obama story, like that's amazing. Just, I mean, being there is like, man, like these are things that you could sit there and like, I never could have said this was happening. I mean, pulling up in Air Force 2 with all of these people around you. Yes, you were flying the plane, but it was like, they're all here for the VP, and I'm the one that brought the VP. And like it's just the way that I think that people are connected through aviation, I think is great. I think that that's one of the best utilities of aviation, whether you're military, civilian, whatever it is. It's bringing two people together directly or indirectly. I mean, we see that with Legacy Flight Academy. We talk about, it's to help kids. I mean, we could, if not a single kid flies, we still win.
Yeah, exactly. The airplane is the airplane is a tool for a bigger objective. I wish every kid had the same passion of flying as we do. That would be awesome. Maybe a busy sky, but that would be awesome, right? Yeah. But to take a young person and figure out what their passion is and mentor them through your passion to show them that their dreams are limitless. That's the magic. That's the thing. So and Legacy Flight Academy is all about it. I'm sure that there are some kids that Legacy has flown that have gone on to pursue their private licenses, but I'm even more confident that there are kids that Legacy Flight Academy mentored that are now doing better in their areas of interest that are going to be outstanding pilots from whatever background and demographic they are.
Yeah, all good. Well, any parting shots, any final words? I think that was great, man.
No, I appreciate you guys having me. This is awesome. I'm excited for this year and the big things that LFA is going to go do and keep this fire going.
Let's go, man.
Yes, sir.
All right, brother.
Yeah.